So I'm going to close this down. All right. And I am...
Recording in progress.
There we are. I'm coming back to... There we are. Back to the main room now. Okay, so now I've got a setup. Let me find, where's my thing? Here. I got all kinds of things happening here. I'm going to stop the video here, and I'm going to start my video back again on Twitch. There we go. Okay, got my desktop here. Now, where I got to get my there we go. My Reddit open. So here we are. Okay. Let me refresh this here. So I think that there we go. Here's my AMA thing at the top here. All right. So I'm going to move it over so that I'm not blocking it. Boy, I can't. Wait, what happened? I just clicked on the wrong thing. That was not right. Okay. All right. Very good. Now, let me get my chat box back. Okay. Sorry, I was muted briefly in Zoom, but I'm now unmuted in Zoom. There we go. Okay. So now through several different media. So here's what we're... Okay. Let me try to make this bigger. Not only because... Oh, yeah, there we go. That is so much better. Okay. Can I go even bigger? Let's see. And then... All right. Maybe I can even cheat on this side. I bet you I can. Okay. All right, not bad. That's big enough even for me to see now that I'm getting old. Okay, so here is my Reddit heading here. And now what I am going to be... So I've got I can see chat in both that is coming in through the broadcast place. So I see the Twitch chat and I see questions in YouTube and Twitter and other places. And I can also see the Zoom chat. So I'm going to go through my questions now in the AMA. It is 4 o'clock, 4:01, and I'm beginning on time like I do. You know, that's the way of things. So here we go. What questions do we have? Let us see what Reddit has for me. Okay. What are the most surprising and or unique things you have found in the Legendarium? Okay. In the Legendarium. Let's see, I'm going to say, there's so many things we've found in Mythgard Academy as we've gone through the history of Middle-earth. It's hard to even begin. Let's see. I would have to start with Elvish Reincarnation. The idea is one that Tolkien put forward in his old stuff, Book of Lost Tales. But it seems never to have completely died as a concept. It comes back in Morgoth's Ring, Volume 10 of History of Middle-earth. For example, the idea that an elf can die and then be reborn in the body of his own grandson is completely blows my mind. I don't think I should use dictation mode. Oh yeah, that would be one way, Sarah, to make this even more comical, right? Okay, all right. Yeah, I don't know how much Tolkien was really thinking this was the way things should work, but he kept coming back to it. Okay, there we go. Here's my first answer. Okay, you guys can feel free to make suggestions, if you want to make suggestions. Okay, so there's my first answer there. Let's see. Okay, has Signum ever done a course on the mechanics of magic in Tolkien? Hot takes on the Jackson films, especially the Hobbit trilogy. Oh, I got lots of those. And any fun stories from your time as a professor at brick and mortar schools? Oh, sure. Not some that I could probably tell without getting in trouble, but yes. Okay, let's see. This is a lot of things. I don't know if let's see. No, we've not done a course on that specifically, though it is a subject that certainly arises from time to time. Okay, let's see, what else do I want to talk about with magic in Tolkien? I better not launch on a whole, thing on magic in Tolkien. Let's see. Yeah, we need more magic. Takako, yeah, I hear that. Tolkien's magic is both very persistent and very subtle. You could argue that there is little real magic in Tolkien's world. And you can also argue that almost everything is magical in Tolkien's world. It sure gives us a lot to talk about. Maybe, let's see, okay, nah, I won't. It's tempting to say, maybe we should do a space module on this, but then I'd have to link to it and they'd think I'm selling them something, which I totally would be. So I'll just say it to you guys. Jackson films. Okay. Jackson hot take, : The Lord of the Rings films are 100 times better as movies than the Hobbit films. But the Hobbit films actually engage with Tolkien's text more carefully and thoughtfully than the Lord of the Rings films do. Yes, despite the sandworms. Okay, there's my hot take. And as for my time at a brick and mortar, come to a regional moot and I will tell you stories about wheelbarrow jousting tournaments. Yeah. Fun fact. One of the current members of the Signum faculty is a former wheelbarrow jousting tournament champion. True story. True story. Okay. Reply. Okay. All right. Look, I got them all three. How about that? Okay. Do I have a single favorite line or passage from the Silmarillion? Darren says normally there's a no movie discussion rule. Yeah, just a hot take, Darren. Just a hot take. I'm not gonna do the whole thing. Okay. Yeah, wheelbarrow jousting. Yeah. That was it was awesome. It was even more fun than it sounds, actually. I still have some of the dining hall tray shields that some of my students made in my garage. Anyway, okay. Let's see. Do I have a single favorite line or passage from the Silmarillion? Okay. Let's see. Single favorite line or passage. And Morgoth came. The duel between Fingolfin and Morgoth has always been one of my favorites. Yeah. His defiance and challenge are awesome, but I will never forget my surprise the first there are two R's in that word apparently. The first time I read that Morgoth actually emerges and takes him on. Amazing. Yeah. Hurin making his stand. Yeah, that's a really good one, RD. Agreed. The arrival of Turgon at the Near Ninth Hour, no idea. That is a really interesting one, Estelle. Yeah, I think so. Okay. All right. Okay, Darren. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah. Coming up with questions is hard, having listened to me talk about Tolkien matters for many hundreds of hours. Yeah, I know. I'm sure I'm going to be recycling stuff. I'm always kind of repeating myself. Yeah. Okay, curious about the following. My favorite of the non-Middle-earth texts. Okay, what's my favorite? Okay, am I Team Eldarion or Team Arendis? Oh, ouch. That is so hard. Why do you think, what do I think all the things Tolkien worked on, the story of Turin was the one, of all the things Tolkien worked on, the story of Turin was the one he actually finished without external pressure. Wow, really good questions, Darren. Okay, so let's see. Favorite, with an F even, favorite non-ME, Leaf by Niggle. And it's not close. I mean, I love a lot of his things, but Leaf by Niggle every time. One of my favorite Tolkien pieces, full stop. And then with Eldarin and Arendis, it depends. It depends on when in the story you ask. At the beginning, my sympathy is all with Arendis. But well before the end, she loses my sympathy very significantly. On balance, by the end, I have to say I am Team Eldarion. But one of the things that I really enjoy about that story is that Tolkien does a great job of showing both sides in their conversations and elsewhere. Like the conversations between him and his dad, I feel the same way. Like whichever one is talking at the time, I'm like, yeah, I totally see your perspective. He does a really good job with that. I find that story pretty remarkable in that way. And then what was the third thing? Oh yeah, Turin. Why Turin? I ask myself that a lot. I find that story depressing and frustrating at times, and I have a hard time seeing why he spent so much more time on that than on, say, Tuor, which he should have finished. Yeah. Yeah, you guys are talking about Cullervo. That's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah. The pull of Turin clearly dates back to his youth and his attraction to the Kalevala, but it obviously goes, darn it, come on now, little typing never hurt. It obviously goes beyond that. Turin does not just equal Kullervo after all. But maybe his desire to add to that story or refine it contributed, feeling like he was in some sense involved in the Kalevala tradition. It might have factored in. Who knows? Okay. Good. Okay. What's my take on what Bombadil is and who is really eldest, Bombadil or Treebeard? Okay. All right. He is. I am contractually obligated to answer that way, or Goldberry will yell at me. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Bombadil is obviously one of the Ainur as he entered the world well before any of the children. Okay. Arthur is arguing that Bombadil is obviously Ungoliant, as proven in the text, he says. Right. Yeah. Okay. All right, Arthur. I hear you. Well, before any of the children, he remembers Morgoth, the Dark Lord, entering from outside. He is clearly attached to that patch of land, however, so seems to have established himself as a kind of genius loci. Him and Goldberry. He is a small picture version, therefore, of the connection between the Valar and Arda. Just like we saw in like chapter 2 of Nature of Middle Earth, or 3, whenever it was, the Valar becoming like the soul, like incarnating Arda. Like that's like Tom in the Old Forest, essentially. Okay, good. Yeah, that's good. Bombadil has obviously been in Middle Earth longer than Treebeard, but I don't think the word eldest really means quite the same thing when attached to each of those two. Treebeard is called that in respect by Celeborn. I don't think Celeborn was making some global claim about Treebeard's actual age. He is respecting his elders, and there are not all that many of them walking around anymore. Okay. Yeah, I mean, eldest, people get obsessed about this eldest thing. And again, it's hard because it's like, you know, it's eldest, right? So it would seem like, yeah, that's, you know, the oldest one, right? But I don't think it really is meant that way. Okay. Did Celeborn meet Fangorn and Beleriand? I bet he did, Phil. Bet he did. I'm going to know for a fact, but I bet he did. Yeah. Okay. Right. What do you think happened to the bodies of the wolves that attacked the Fellowship? Ooh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to talk about this soon, like within the next few months, in Exploring the Lord of the Rings. Can you talk a bit about the new Signum Space? I sure can talk a bit about the Signum Space program. Holy cow. Man, do you really want to ask me that today? Okay, I'll restrain myself. I'm going to be so good. You'll see. Okay, so Bodies of the Wolves. We will talk about those vanishing wolves soon in Exploring the Lord of the Rings. There are two basic options, right? Either there were unusually tidy survivors, or something weird happened to the bodies. I am going with weird myself. I am not sure they were spiritual in the same sense as the boulders, but yeah, not in the same sense as the boulders, but they do seem to, let's change that, say, they certainly did not seem to be merely corporeal wolves. We will have to talk about the potential relationship between those disappearing wolves and the werewolves for which Sauron was famous in the old days. Okay, and space program. I could and recently did talk for a couple hours about our new space program. Briefly, it consists of month-long modules in which you can learn almost anything you want without any external pressure of degree requirements or a degree without any external pressure degree requirements. Yeah, I'll just stick with that for now. Yeah, I'll just give the website. Check out the new page at signumuniversity.org/space. Reply. See, wasn't I good? I told you I was going to be good. Like two sentences. Yeah, thanks, Twitch folks, for explaining the spiritual boulders comment to people who didn't know about that. Okay. All right. NYC News Junkie asks, based on what happened in the shadow of the past and their knowledge that the ring will grow in power the closer it gets to Mount Doom, it seems unlikely that Gandalf and Elrond can believe that Frodo will be able to throw the ring into the fire. Do you think they see this as his job, or do they want him to transport it to the fire, trusting to fate to take care of its destruction once there? Put another way, does Frodo really fail, or does he succeed in his primary mission? Dude, you are channeling just what I was hinting at in Exploring the Lord of the Rings class a couple weeks ago. Frodo is charged with getting the ring to the cracks of doom. He actually makes no vow or promise to chuck the thing in. Did they expect him to, quote, fail? I don't necessarily think so. Elrond says, and I believe him, that he can't see what is going to happen. But it is clear that they are, in fact, relying on Providence, trusting, having Estelle without an R, having Estelle that things are going to turn out right. And Providence comes through. Yeah. Okay, one quick follow-up. That doesn't mean that claiming the ring for his own wasn't bad. It wasn't the right thing to do. But could he have actually succeeded in doing otherwise? I rather doubt that myself. Okay. Yeah, so Arthur's saying, put another way, did Elrond and Gandalf use Frodo as an unwitting pawn? To some extent, Arthur, when you think about the line, you remember when Gandalf is looking at Frodo in bed in many meetings and says, he's like, he may become like a light, that shine, that for anyone to see who can. He's thinking about what's going to happen to Frodo, right? And then he's like, "You look splendid." Remember that passage? He's kind of aware that something like this is, that something like that could happen. Does it mean they're like just using him? No. But do they know the cost or have an idea of what it's going to cost them? Yeah, I think they do. Okay. Nerd Chaplain asks, what do you think Tolkien's work has to offer the world today? Hey, Sarah, you want to take this one? This is exactly the topic of Sarah's space module for December. Are you Tolkien to me? But I don't want to wimp out. Let's see. Okay, I won't whip out. Golly. So I'm not going to actually push Sarah's module because unless they ask specifically, I don't want to abuse my invitation to Reddit by like trying to sell folks. Okay. Yeah, Cecilia, that's just where I was thinking of going. Cecilia's thinking about some of the core principles. Yeah, I'll go there, Cecilia. I think that Tolkien was Tolkien's insight. There we go. That's how I want to say it. Tolkien's insight into reality and human nature and the human condition was spot on when he discussed on fairy stories the importance of escape, recovery, and consolation, and the power of fairy tale and fantasy to deliver those. I think it is also obvious that his works succeed in doing this. All three of those things are more important today than ever, I would say. And people still receive great comfort and wisdom through Tolkien's work for this reason. It is what makes Tolkien's work truly timeless. So, a plug. If you haven't read OFS, you totally should. Okay. There we go. Hard to do that one justice without taking the whole rest of my time. Whew, only half an hour in. We're good. I'm barely hitting my groove here. Okay. All right. Purplish Pilgrim. I am reading the Silmarillion for the first time. Cool. And am finding the Silmarillion seminar really essential for helping me digest it. Awesome. My question is, Morgoth refers to himself as Melkor while cursing Hurin. Does Morgoth still refer to himself by his name because he still sees himself as master? Does he reject the names Morgoth and Bauglir, and do his servants address him as Melkor or Morgoth? Thanks. I know there was a time where I used to read books on my own without podcasts or social media to help me sort through it all, but I'm not sure I would want to go back to that simpler time, even if I could. It really has changed things, hasn't it? The way in which you can not only read a book, but also, kind of immerse yourself in a whole community like that is pretty awesome. I agree. One of my favorite parts of the modern world also. All right, Purplish Pilgrim, let's see. Let's see. Morgoth and Bauglir are insults, pretty much. They are a sign of rejection by those who use them. The Boldor, those are totally different. The Noldor call Melkor Morgoth only. Yeah, just call him Morgoth. Because they accepted him before as friend and ally, and they now reject him utterly and permanently. So they will only call him the Dark One or the Dark Enemy of the world. He is not going to call himself that, however, especially as we have reason to believe Melkor is actually quite keen on light. So he wouldn't think of himself as the Dark One, but as the Lord of Light, or similar. He actually asked Varda, Lady of Light and the Stars, out. I'll just say he asked out. Yeah, clumsy, but clearer. Asked out Varda early on, but she wasn't having any. So he has had light desire issues for a long time. Melkor and light are very much in a it's complicated. Oops, hang on. State. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, he totally has light desire issues. Don't you say, Virginicus? Yeah, Varda's not into bad boys. Not at all. Anyway, we don't know quite what his followers called him. My own guess would be Sir, or Lord, or possibly even, O most high and exalted one, who is totally greater even than Eru. We really mean it. But maybe they had some kind of acronym for that. Yeah, probably. Okay. Good. Oh, wait, I should say, hang on. I should reply again. And I am glad you are enjoying the Silmarillion seminar. It had been my career goal to help more Tolkien fans get through the Silmarillion. I am delighted to find I have succeeded somewhat in that. That's very rewarding. Ding. Good. Okay. Whew. All right. Oh boy. Okay. There we go. Good. All right. Hang on a second. I just want to look at where we are. I have no idea. Never mind. I'll just keep going until I run out of questions. Have you ever taken any Tolkien-related pilgrimages? Is there anywhere Tolkien-related that you would love to go see but haven't yet? Also, if you could live in any setting from the Legendarium, where would you live? Oh, cool questions. Okay, proper doggo. Yes. I did, in fact, have a pint at the Bird and Baby pub in Oxford. And I also visited Tolkien's grave there in town as well. Both very cool, though I admit that the pub was so crowded the day we went that my family was kind of crammed into a corner. But I am hoping to get back someday. Yeah, I know that's not its real name. The real name of the pub is the Eagle and Child, of course. But I call it the Bird and Baby, like Jack and Dollars did. Because fanboy. Okay, and other question. If I could live in any setting in the Legendarium, where would I live? Gosh. Well, it's hard to beat the Shire, but I'm not sure that's really my answer, though. Would I really want to live in the Shire? I don't think I've ever thought about the other one, really. I think, on balance, I would want to retire with Bilbo in Rivendell. I think his gig sounds pretty darn sweet. But I think I would enjoy old Minas Tirith, the Silmarillion one, too. Sweet Elvish castle, scenic locale, convenient crossroads for meeting interesting people. What's not to like? There we go. Okay. There's my double answer there. Tyrion upon tuna, yeah. Phil says, shame about the werewolves. Yeah, well, nothing's perfect, you know. It's got its drawbacks at certain periods in history, but yeah. Okay. That's the problem with naming a Silmarillion locale, is that almost all of them get wrecked, so it's hard. Okay. All right. NYC News Junkie with another one says, The Lord of the Rings was begun in 1936, quoting here, and every part has been written many times. Hardly a word in its 600,000 or more has been unconsidered. And the placing, size, style, and contribution to the whole of all the features, incidents, and chapters has been laboriously pondered. What I intend to say is this: I cannot substantially alter the thing. I have finished it, and it is off my mind. Since Tolkien at the time considered the book the final embodiment of his vision, how do you feel about judging incidents and scenes based on his earlier works or drafts? For example, we know Arwen was a late edition. Does this matter? Since Tolkien had plenty of time to look at the whole book, and any passage of that might reference or allude to her and revise them if he felt them out of place? Okay, this is complicated. Great question. It is complicated. First, yes, Tolkien was wanting to let it go and didn't feel he needed to rewrite it. But that doesn't mean he was done thinking about it. Also, with any of his statements in letters, you always have to remember the context. To whom is he writing, and when and why? When, comma, and why. So let's see. Let me make sure I don't want to trust my memory off the top of my head. Letter 131. Where are we in letter 131? Is that the big one? No. Letter 131. It is a big one, I think. No, maybe it is the big one. Yeah, it is the big one. It's the Milton Walden letter. Okay, yeah. Okay. Right? Yeah, it is. Okay. Great. So let's see. Letter 131 was written to the guy whom he was trying to convince to publish The Lord of the Rings. So, yeah, he emphasizes that it is a done deal and super carefully crafted and such. There is a modicum of salesmanship here. What else was I going to say? I was going to say something else about yeah. No, that's fine for that bit. And say however, it is not necessarily true that everything in the book is just what he would have wanted it ultimately to be. Especially with the later books, he was revising under a deadline. There was only so much Arwen that could be shoved in there before he had to send off the thing, before people rioted because they were impatient for the Return of the King to come out. I think some people in the chat remember that, waiting for the Return of the King to come out. I don't. I am too young for that. It is one of the things, it's on my short list of like wish lists. Like I would wish to have read The Lord of the Rings when it came out. That would have been a really fun experience. Okay. Yeah. But he clearly thought about or fantasized about including her more in the narrative, giving her a role in the story. Remember, she is the Luthien parallel to Aragorn's Baron. And Luthien was an active character in the story. No sitting home and stitching banners for her. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know, Darren. Just trying to imagine being there, like, you know, Sam losing consciousness, right? Frodo was alive, but taken by the enemy. And then waiting for, what was it? More than a year, right? Oy. Anyway. So, does the published Lord of the Rings really represent Tolkien's final vision for the story? No, I don't think so. But it is a final state and fun to consider as such. But it is also fun to think about how the story had grown and was growing while and after he wrote. That's why I find the History of Middle-earth series so much fun. Okay. Woohoo! Exactly, yeah. No author ever finishes writing a book. We only ever stop. Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Okay, Pixel Riffs. As a recent adopter of Exploring the Lord of the Rings, it's a pleasure to listen to. Oh, good. Cousin, episode 92. Hey, you're getting there. Excited to spend the next 100 episodes in Rivendell and counting. If you're in 92, it's what, now up to 113 or so? No, 111 episodes in Rivendell. I find the field trip segments fascinating too, but I was wondering if your explorations of Tolkien and gaming have ever led you into the Minecraft Middle-earth server. Yeah, no, I have not. I have not. Let's see. I have not been in the, yeah. I have seen it, though, being the father of 2 teenage boys. I have been exposed to a fair bit of Minecraft. that would be fun to explore. What I really enjoy about exploring the Lotro world is not only the pure archaeogaming element. Hey man, that's totally a word. You don't know that word? Dude, learn that spelling, man. You gotta know that word. Come on, Safari. What I really enjoy about exploring the Lotro world is not only the pure archaeogaming element, parentheses, looking around at the visual world that is there, but thinking about the visual, world as adaptation of the visual as adaptation of the story in interaction with the narratives that the game develops. It is a fascinating three-way adaptation relationship, and I love exploring it. No, that's not a spoiler. Okay. But I may look into the Minecraft thing someday. It is pretty impressive from all I have seen. Okay. Excellent. Okay. I'm looking at the timestamps. I'm kind of treading water, falling behind a little bit, but not too bad. I was at 50 minutes just a few minutes ago. Okay, Nub Stitches asks, how has studying the world of Tolkien affected the way you view and interact with the modern world? Be it how you vote, how you discuss or debate with others, how you raise your children. Well, I won't skip it. I'm not going to talk about modern politics. You're certainly right about that. Other than to say that I have felt more and more like Tolkien did, that I'm increasingly like I feel increasingly like an anarchist, not a whiskered dude with bombs, but the other kind of anarchist, a Shire anarchist. Okay. All right. Let's see. Pretty broad question, though. Tolkien has, throughout my life, provided a kind of vocabulary with which I can talk about and conceptualize my world. It is not just about relating to certain characters, but about finding myself thinking in terms established within the stories. I often remember particular passages at odd times or in stressful situations. Aragorn's "There is no rest yet for the weary" is a frequent quote of mine. Or I will pump myself up even more by quoting Gimli's give me a row of orc necks and room to swing, and all weariness will fall from me. I almost always connect back to moments like that in the stories when I come to moments of trial. I have found Tolkien a wise counselor in this way in my life. Yeah. It's more of an example than an answer, but that'll kind of work. Okay. Hey, you're welcome, Luthien Tenuvio. Why does Melian leave the people of Doriath instead of helping them? Dude! Oh my goodness! Holy cow! I literally just asked that question, and B, marveled at Tolkien's direct answer to it. In class 2 weeks ago. Somebody tell me, is that in number 2? Session 2 of the Nature Middle-earth class? I can't remember for sure. I don't want to. It was session 3? Thanks, Virginicus. Appreciate it. Exclamation point. In our discussion of the nature of Middle-earth, the awesome, mind-blowing new book edited by Carl Hostetter, in the Mythgard Academy, we talked about Tolkien's note on Melian and what happened to her physically when she bore Luthien. It's on page... what page is it on? In case you're wondering, why am I looking in the Cumber's Old Fashioned though? I should be looking in my ebook version. Hang on, not the Two Towers. Nature, Middle-earth. Okay. Nature, Middle-earth. Melian. Bingo. Note 9. No. Is that it? Footnote 4. Yeah. Yeah. That's the one. Footnote 4 of chapter... Which chapter is this? This is chapter 4. Okay. Done. Okay, it's in footnote 4 of book 1, chapter 4. I talk about it in session 3 of our discussion. Basically, the answer was that her physical connection to Middle Earth is pretty much severed when Thingol dies. She doesn't just run away. She is released. She is released and kind of loses her physical body. I just say physical body. This is an oversimplification, but hey, since when is a one paragraph answer to a question like this not an oversimplification? Okay, yeah. Page 21 in the Dead Tree version, Phil? Yeah. Thank you. She is released and kind of loses her physical body when her immediate family are all in their post-mortal, post-physical state. I'll tell you what, I know how to equivocate this because Luthien's alive, but she died. It's complicated. You see what I'm dealing with here. When her family, oh shoot, I had just thought of a way to get around it. Physical body when her immediate family has died. Yeah. Family members have died. Okay. So sticking around is not a very viable option. Totally recommend the nature of Middle Earth, and we are still in the early days of discussing our way through that book in the Mythgard Academy. You can join me on Wednesday nights at 10 p.m.-ish for our discussions, if you like. There's a surprising amount of math, so it is fun to work through together. I said ish, right? I said ish. That was true. Yeah, good point, Phil. And we are only 5, right? 5. So it won't take as long to catch up as Ex Lotro. Okay. All right. Good. Okay, so I got to the bottom of my page 1. I have a feeling that's not it. So I'm going up here. This is when I'm being now undermined by the huge print that I have done here. How do I need to sort or something, or refresh? Maybe I need to refresh. Let's refresh. Oof. We refresh and it gets bigger. Hang on, I'm going to be blocking it now. Okay. All right, hang on. Zoop. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. Oh, great. Thank you, Darren, for posting the link there. Okay, do I sort them? Oh, here we go. Yeah, sort by new. How about we do that? That's going to be I'm going to leave a gap. Yeah. Well, I know. Well, I'll mix it up. Or maybe I can go bottom to top. Maybe I can find where I left off. Okay, there's that one I left. I'll go up. That way, I don't want to, like, poor Dr. Woot would have been, like, stranded in the middle. Okay. But I'm good. I still got an hour. Whew. I'm good. Okay, between the two versions of Tolkien's explanations about what happened to the Blue Wizards failing in their mission / weakening Sauron's forces, which one suits the overall Middle-earth story better in your opinion? The latter, hands down. When Tolkien was insisting that Gandalf alone stayed true to his mission, Tolkien was in a big, no, really, Gandalf is the man kick in the immediate post Lord of the Rings years. Personally, I think he overdid it a bit in the essay on the Istari in that direction. Radagast didn't fail, Tollers. I am willing to fight you on this point. This is another reason why it's so nice to be a fan of dead authors, because you can't tweet back at me or something. I'm sorry, it's the way it is. Okay. Okay, wait, what was I saying? And what's more, I think Tolkien thought he overdid it too. That's why later on we see him reconsidering. We see him reconsidering, because I like typing that word. See him reconsidering the fates of the Blue Wizards. Do we know which fellow the Blue Wizards followed? Phil? Yeah, Orome? Oh, he's one of each. One was definitely Orome. Or were they both Orome? I'm forgetting. Somebody will remember. I know one of them was Orome. Yeah, but I'm forgetting. I'm pretty sure it's in Unfinished Tales, which I have sitting right here, needless to say. I got a new desk recently, which I love because I have a bookcase right here. So, like, you'll see me, like, reach over, to stage left and pull a Tolkien book off the shelf. It is so much better. It was across the room before. And I used to, in my podcast, just be, like, staring at my bookcase across the room, wishing I could, like, draw something across the room. Mandos? Really, in Arwen? One Orome and one Mandos? Might think I would have remembered that. Anyway, okay. Right. Orome chose Alatar, and Alatar brought... And Palanda was Alatar's +1. Right, yeah. Okay. Okay, are you guessing an Arwen? Because that would have been awesome, but I don't think it's so. Pretty sure I'd have remembered that, as I say. Okay. What's more, I think Tolkien thought he overdid it too, right? That's why later on we see him reconsidering the fates of the Blue Wizards. Personally, I would settle for a 50% success rate on the blue wizard front. I think some measure of success suits the story better. As it picks up the many hands have contributed theme that we get at, for instance, Aragorn's coronation. All right. Both were followers of Orome? Okay. That's what I thought. That was what I thought, but I wasn't sure. Okay. Oh, right. NYC News Junkie. Full of questions today. Elrond says, if any of the wise should with this ring overthrow the Lord of Mordor using his own arts, etc., etc., this implies Elrond at least felt that a number of the wise could overthrow Sauron. In a letter, Tolkien claimed only Gandalf could do so. I just mentioned in the last reply, in a reply to a blue wizard question, that Gandalf went through a phase when he was serving as Gandalf's hype man. I am not totally sure why. Perhaps in the responses to the book that he heard, he felt people were not really getting... what did I say? Oh, Gandalf went through a phase. Yeah, you're right. Gandalf was always his own hype man. Yeah, so thank you guys. See, it's so useful to live stream this and have you guys catch my embarrassing typos before they go. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Okay. All right. Anyway, so the responses to the book that he heard, he felt people were not really getting Gandalf's awesomeness. Not sure. Yeah, you are living spell checkers, Tarloniel. That's you guys. Okay, let's see. What letter is that? Can somebody look up which letter? See, now you can be my live research assistants too. Which letter? Let's see. I could search for it. Let's see. Letters. Yeah. Wow. Gandalf is going to not be specific enough. Not quite sure how best to search for this. Okay, look at this pattern here. 2 references to Gandalf in the early letters. And then look at this big chunk right there. This is the, right after The Lord of the Rings was published period. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to identify exactly which letter they're referring to here. But anyway, if anybody can find that letter specifically where he says only Gandalf could do so. Okay, remember that. Okay, thank you, Darren. Let's see, let's get, okay, 246, huh? So, table of contents. Oh, yeah, wonderful. This table of contents sucks. Holy cow, I forgot how much it sucks. Let me do a search by the number 246 then. thwarted you. Crappy table of contents. No, wait, that's page 246. Oh, thwarted in turn. Oh, okay. It thwarted me right back. This one? No. Darn it. Never mind. Hang on. I'm going back. I'm too close for electronic. I'm switching to guns. Okay. 246. Yeah. Okay. Letter to Mrs. Eileen Elgar. Draft. He never sent it. Oh, that's important to notice. 1963, clearly. Right in the middle of the hype man period. Okay. Yep. Well, I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole here. I got a bunch of other questions to answer. Okay. Okay. Remember that the book also implies that Sauron, at least, is suspicious that Aragorn could pull it off. Yes, thank you. Could pull it off too. Okay. The book also implies that Sauron at least is suspicious that Aragorn could pull it off too. I am not suggesting that Tolkien was just flat wrong when he said that. But he was, in italics, writing a response to a fan, letter 246, right? Or so my sources tell me. See, you guys are making me look like I've just got this like off the top of my head, right? Which is totally a professorial secret, by the way. Like half of the professors you ever had who like seemed like they always knew everything right off the top had like, in fact, dutiful research assistants who helped them find everything. So like, you know, yeah, anyway, it's like totally talk about being backstage in the professorial world. The only difference is that I'm crowdsourcing it, essentially. Okay. Yeah, but he was writing a response to a fan, and thus is perhaps simplifying things a bit. Yeah. I certainly don't think he is considering every possible option there. Okay. Sarah says not to tell everybody, not to tell all of our professional secrets. Okay, no problem. I'll try to keep some of them, Sarah. Okay. Yeah. Always remember that Tolkien's letters are written to particular people at particular times and for particular reasons. the stuff he says in his letters are not just simply what Tolkien actually thought. Again, not second guessing him, just saying even he might say it was more complicated than he made it sound in any particular letter. Yeah, that was a Verlin Flieger dictum, by the way. Verlin Flieger was one of the people who really drilled that into my head. Whenever you quote Tolkien's letters, you can never do it out of context. You always have to remember the context of the letter. Big time Fliegerism right there. Okay, any chance to get more on Blind Guardian's Tolkien interpretation? Yeah. I would love to, though I can no longer do my commentary sessions on Twitch with my son, or Twitch will nuke me in a heartbeat under the new draconian music regime. Also, my son, who used to drum on my head while we were listening to the tracks, is now much larger and would probably concuss me if he did that now. Okay. Yes, Virginicus, it is draconian in a very pure sense. I don't just mean strict. I mean dragonish, right? Like that it's like there's some dragon sickness going on here, right? I often think of dragon sickness when I think about rights management and copyright. Caution to artists and stuff. I get it, but beware of the dragon sickness. I'm just saying. Okay. As I think the publishing industry, both music and text publishing industries, are fraught with the dragon sickness. But anyway, what was I saying? Matthias would concuss me now. Also, he now is an actual drummer and has performed several Blind Guardian songs from that album, actually. But anyway, okay. I would love to talk about that album more fully. One of my bucket list items is to have a nice sit down with Hansi from Blind Guardian and discuss the album with him. Fun fact, that album was the gateway drug into metal fandom for both of my children, who were in a metal band together until my older son left for college. Okay. All right. been trying to connect with Hansi, actually, Ulfer, but haven't succeeded yet. Hoping to. Still hoping to someday. What has been my most rewarding moment in learning about the Tolkien Legendarium? Oh, no question. Feeling the Baird. Feel the Baird. Okay. Hands down. Reading The Return of the Shadow and discussing it in the Mythgard Academy series. And coming across the sentence that changed Tolkien's life. When, yeah, I get it, RD. I keep forgetting how long I've been listening to Corey until he talks about his son being in college. I know, man. You and me both. Yep. Okay. Coming across that changed Tolkien's life. When Trotter, later named Strider, says, I will tell you the tale of Tenuviel. That was very clearly the moment when this standalone fantasy sequel to that funny little book about hobbits became integrated into his Legendarium as a whole. And Tolkien's world building just exploded. That moment was, without question, the best. Am I a metal fan, Ethelod? I wouldn't call myself a metal fan. I enjoy it and I really respect it. I've gained a huge respect for the musical complexity of heavy metal, and I enjoy it often. But I don't listen to it electively, really. So I wouldn't really call myself a fan. It's not what I choose to listen to primarily. Rap, yes. Rap I am a genuine fan of. Metal, less so. Darren, oh, absolutely. That Mythgard Academy episode was just so cool. What subtype of metal? They were in a death metal band. Nile is my older son Nicholas's favorite band, so that's his primary inspiration. My sons are both kind of into death metal. My older son more than my younger son. My younger son is a little bit more eclectic. Okay. Adam Barrow asks, I enjoyed exploring the Lord of the Rings. Oh, thanks. Exploring the Hobbit. Yeah, immensely. Certainly more focused on the narrative itself than the Ratliff history and Anderson's annotated. Yes. Any plans? Right, my exploring the Lord of the Rings. Okay. Well, it's complicated. So, yes, many plans. I may someday write exploring the Hobbit type books on the Lord of the Rings. It could happen. For now, I am focused on our wonderful deep dive in the Exploring the Lord of the Rings weekly broadcast. If you don't know about this, brace yourself. It is tremendously fun, and it will take much of the rest of your life. But anyway, okay. I am also initiating a community web project where we are going to publish some kind of wiki-ish / web page thing in which we archive and chronicle and perpetuate the observations we have made and the discussions we have had. That project will be starting up in earnest within the next month or so. Really, truly. I'm telling you, man, I have had a bunch of people have volunteered, and I have this like whole list, and I'm like ready to email them and get them all set up with that. But I keep getting put off by things like accreditation deadlines and launching space programs and things like that. So I haven't gotten to do it yet, but that is like totally happening soon. Okay. All right. Okay. How many volumes would it actually? Yeah. Okay. Hang on. I'll type that one. RD. If I write it up in book form, ever, I would like to do a 6-volume series. 1 book on each book of the Lord of the Rings. That would be the plan. Okay. Yeah, exactly. I'm like running a university. I know. It's like, it gets in the way sometimes, work and all that kind of thing. Nah, totally worth it. Okay. I grew up in a secular home, so I don't quite understand this, but why is it inherently evil of Morgoth to create his own races? Okay, cool. Forsberg, in the beginning, God created, let's see, where do I start? Right. So it isn't exactly creating stuff himself that is evil. In fact, the impulse to make and shape things is part of the image of Iluvatar himself, which is in all of his creatures to some extent. Melkor, perhaps most of all. The problem is that and I'm not even going to get into the creating versus making thing, Phil. Like, it's a big deal theologically, but like, I don't think this is the time for like, I'm not going to start a paragraph to this guy with like, according to St. Augustine. I don't think we can go there. Okay. Anyway, the problem is that Melkor seeks to dominate and control. That is the most common thread in all evil in Tolkien's worlds. Melkor's desire to create slash make, I'll equivocate here, is good in itself. His desire to have things his way, his tendency to think he knows better how things should go than Iluvatar does, and his desire to force the things he makes to follow his own will implicitly. These are the problems. These are the things that make his actions evil. Oh, hang on. We got a proofreading issue, Phil. His desire to have, things his way, his tendency to think he knows better how things should go, yeah, and his desire to force the things he makes. Okay. Yes, I think that's right then. Okay. Yeah. You're welcome. I should have been saying that more politely all along. Okay. Oh, I'm still treading water at an hour. Okay. Silly Wabbit 321. What are your thoughts on Lord of the Rings on Prime? I am cheerfully anticipating Lotra on Prime. Life is too short to worry about uncertainties. As far as I am concerned, it is awesome until I find that it is not. Why worry? He hasn't taken the victuals with him. Yeah. Blanking. Who says that? But why worry? Oh, yeah. Bilbo's party. Gorbadad? Is that Gorbadad Brandybuck? Rory Brandybuck. Yeah, Rory Brandybuck. Yeah. Okay. As Rory Brandybuck. Old Rory Brandybuck. That's right. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. As far as forced diversity, it is really not something I get worked up about. The fact is, as it seems to me, there is a real tension between the people that Tolkien tended to picture, who do, in general, seem to be mostly white folks, like him and like he and his primary target audience were. That is, English people at that time. And the world that Tolkien built and described. If Middle-earth really is like Tolkien insisted it was, as regards geography and diversity of populations and such, then there certainly would be more diversity of skin color, etc., than is explicitly described in the book. So that is, for instance, Dol Amroth according to Tolkien's notes about latitude, would be somewhere around the latitude of Morocco. Would I be offended by a dark-skinned Prince Imrahil, therefore? Of course not. That would be consistent with Tolkien's text in one sense, though not consistent with it in another. This is why, as I say, I am not bothered about this very much. Virginica says, no, I totally want to see a reboot of Casablanca set in Dol Amroth. I know, right? Phil, so having Imrahil looking a bit elvish isn't inconsistent with his having darker skin? Why would it be? First of all, why are all elves have to be white-skinned? Do they? Why should they be? Wouldn't there be diversity among elves as well? I mean, again, if geography is really what he says, I mean, why not, right? So that's one thing. But second thing also, the Elvish ancestors way back, right? So even if you do say that his Elvish ancestor was lily white in complexion, you'd be looking at a dude like the son of a brown-skinned line who had a white ancestress a whole bunch of generations back, right? So, whatever. Anyway, yeah, I just as I said, there's like a tension in the text. In my opinion, when adapting, you can kind of decide which rules you want to follow. The things that Tolkien does say in physical description, which are not as many as people make out, or the world that he created, right? And which he especially kind of built out a little bit more later on. Anyway, I will say, the one thing that I don't like is arbitrary mixes, like being asked to believe that two neighbors or family members have totally disparate skin tones or something for no story-based reason. Mere diversity like that jars me out of the secondary world. But brown-skinned humans, hobbits, or even elves would not necessarily, especially not if some consistent thought were put into it. Okay. All right. Anyway. Okay. That was a long answer, but I know this is a hot button question these days on the subject of brown-skinned hobbits in particular. So Might as well put it out there. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hey, Michael. Michael, sneaking into Discord. I've seen you on our live stream here earlier this morning. What insufficiently supported beliefs, ideas, theories do you have in your headcanon of the Legendarium? If you chose to write a fanfic, what character or story or philosophical point would you expand on? Essentially the same question. Okay, Michael. Let's see. Insufficiently supported beliefs, ideas, theories do I have in my headcanon? Oh, man. There are like so many, Michael. I don't doubt. Let me see. I'm just trying to think of a specific one. I mean, there are lots of things I've got like opinions about which have no true substantiation in the text. Oh, hey, yeah, Druid's Fire, if you're here, you could clear Darren to post that link. That looks like a good link. Discussion of the Black Hobbits question. I'm blanking, Michael. I'm blanking. I can't think of a good one off the top of my head. I mean, there are lots. There are lots of things that I like have kind of secreted, or not very secretly secreted, into my own headcanon. Okay, well, here's one. Where did hobbits come from? So I don't believe that hobbits evolved, just like spontaneously evolved, right? Somebody tampered, clearly. I mean, they're obviously related to humans, but at some point along the way, somebody, one of the Valar, I'm thinking, was like, this would be cool, right? And tampered. So that's a theory. That's an insufficiently supported theory of mine. And I will go further to say that I think my headcanon says that it was Nessa who did that. I think that it was Nessa roaming about the world, who tampered with hobbits, who tampered with humans and made hobbits. So there we go. That's my, there's my example, Michael. Oh wait, I should probably write it. Here, Michael, since I know you're here, I'm like telling you. Okay, hang on. I forgot to type. Let's see. So many to choose from. Where did hobbits come from? That Bob is a hobbit. Them's fighting words. Bob totally is a hobbit. There's plenty of evidence to show that. Okay, where did hobbits come from? They couldn't have evolved spontaneously. No time, or not enough time, for one thing. So someone must have tampered. My headcanon says it was Nessa. running and dancing about Middle-earth, about the Great Lands, and improving a community of humans whom she befriended. There we go. Here we go. There's my answer. Oh, hang on. Didn't take. All right, there we go. All right. Did anyone keep speaking the Black Speech after the fall of Sauron? No. That's why so little of it survives today. Just kidding. Sort of. This brings us smack against the what happened to the orcs after Sauron fell question, which can't be really answered until we answer the what the heck are orcs actually anyway question, which Tolkien never really satisfactorily no, I'm completely failing. Lost my way in that spelling. I wanted syllables. More syllables are better. Never satisfactorily. There we go. Factorially. It's much cooler. More syllables are better. Never really satisfactorily answered himself. So that puts us in a bind. It seems, but this never actually stops me from answering questions. It seems to me that orcs would likely survive in some mode after the fall of Sauron, as they did after the fall of Morgoth. Therefore, I would assume that the Black Speech would survive, but eventually get mingled with other speech. Indeed, I can imagine Tolkien having a lot of fun picturing how that would happen linguistically. In fact, I bet you Tolkien would have orcs survive, if only to ensure that that fascinating philological situation could be allowed to come about. Okay. Yeah, he does talk about goblins surviving into the modern world in The Hobbit, but that was before he was doing actual world building. It's fairy tale stuff. Doesn't necessarily at all spill over onto the end of The Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Okay. Oh, still treading water at 1 hour. How far down the page am I here? Not too bad, but I'm not going to make it. Oh, I'm running up against time here. Okay, Matt's Chinese food, which is sounding like a good idea. I've always wondered why the Nazgul or Sauron weren't able to detect the presence or sensation of the ring. Oh, yeah, great. Okay. Hi, Matt. People, in my opinion, tend to overestimate the ability of Sauron or the Nazgul to sense the presence of the ring. They can, to some extent, but there is lots of evidence in the books that they really don't. The blood of living creatures, yes. The ring, less so. Yeah. They aren't completely oblivious to it. Consider the Witch King's pause on the way out of Morgul Vale, for instance. A funny thing happened on the way to battle. But they do not have ring radar or a spiritual Geiger counter. Okay. Oh, I'm OP? Oh, no, I'm the original poster. Okay. Well, I was going to say, that's flattering, but... okay, do you think that Tolkien avoided getting in too deep on female characters since he didn't feel authorized to do so, being a man and unable to understand female perspective in a decent way? Somehow I feel the Entwives story, he stepped a bit out of his way, differentiating male and female, and femininity got criticized a bit too harshly. You can even compare the Entwives to Sauron. I'd actually compare them more to Saruman, in point of fact, but yeah, I hear you. Do you think it's a reasonable view? Can you give another take on it? To some extent, yes, I agree. The way I would say it, I think, is that Tolkien, like most writers, wrote what he knew. He had a wife and a daughter, and he was close to both, and he had female colleagues and friends and correspondence, as you can see in the letters. But that doesn't change the fact that Tolkien's world was still a very masculine dominated one. He spent much of his life surrounded by other men. At school, at war, in academia. So I do think that Tolkien was much more comfortable writing men and their interactions and perspectives. Okay. Not that that lets him off the hook. I'm not trying to excuse it. I'm just saying you write what you know. And I think that's what he knew. Okay. Oof, will you be getting another book? Maybe someday. Right now, you are getting about 6 to 10 hours a week of broadcasts from me, not to mention a university. That's all been enough to get on with for now. But someday I do hope to write more. And who knows, maybe someday I will cease to be a chicken and write my own fiction. But that is a relatively unlikely eventuality. That is me ceasing to be a chicken, primarily. But you're right, Fourth Dauntless. Exploring the Lord of the Rings is kind of my magnum opus. Okay. Evil Dr. Cannon from the Discord chat has calculated with some precision that we will finish up in 2031 by the last count I recall. So we're almost there. And Bob is a hobbit. His name rhymes with knob. Q-E-D. Okay. What I'd like to see from the Tolkien estate. Oops, I'm out of time. Or at least I'm using up my gap time. Hang on, where are we? Looking at my schedule. 6:15 is when we're due to start our next space capsule on fairy tales. Okay. All right. Okay. I should actually stop soon. Maybe nowish. Technically, Bob is my Uncle Arthur. In fact, true story. I do have an Uncle Bob. So there we are. I'm out of time. Follow-up Bombadil question. No. Let's see. Do I know of any Tolkien-related education programs? Kind of do. Kind of have a preference there. Let's see. I think I got to be done typing. But let me to give a couple verbal answers. Okay. Let's see. Tolkien estate. No, actually. I mean, I've been really glad with what they've released. I would love to see the like poetic translation of Beowulf, but I feel like I'm nitpicking now. I mean, we've gotten most of what was out there. I would have had a whole bunch of preferences 10 years ago, but I've gotten the Fall of Arthur now. I've gotten, I mean, so much. So, yeah, I have no complaints right now. Okay, must-reads among secondary Tolkien literature. Secondary meaning like Tolkien scholars. I'd always start with Tom Shippey and Verlin Flieger. Like The Road to Middle-earth and Tolkien, Author of the Century by Shippey. Awesome. Verlin Flieger, Splintered Light, one of my favorites. I would then recommend, of course, The History of Middle-earth, which is kind of secondary. John Ratliff's History of the Hobbit and the Annotated Hobbit. Those are both really, really fascinating. I would definitely, that's where I would definitely suggest starting. Is Bombadil on a dangerous path? No, there's nothing wrong with being the master. There is a bad thing about attempting to master other things. Look, the very fact that Old Man Willow is still doing his thing and being a jerk shows that Tom Bombadil does not have the wrong kind of mastery. Does everything in his domain like march to his beat? No, his beat's kind of fun, rather compelling, but he doesn't make anybody else do it. So he does not assert dominion of the kind that we see there. Oh, so for Thoughtless, there you go. Okay, and then, Cornendale, yeah. I would look into Signum University's, I know you know about Signum University's programming. We have a wonderful relationship, have always had a wonderful relationship with Dimitra Fimi and the work that she does. She's recently moved to the Glasgow program. They've got a great program. We've got students, some of our alumni who are in their program, their PhD program. So I definitely recommend Dimitra Fimi's program as well. But yeah, that Signum University place is a pretty good place to start too. Okay. You've wanted to read Chaucer, but you've been too afraid to start? Space Module, Canterbury Tales. Do it. Do it. Main thing, don't read books about medieval writings. Just read medieval writings. Just do it. Just do it. Get a copy of Chaucer and start reading it. It's awesome. He's hilarious. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And there are places you can go where you can find supporters, like the space program. Do I think Tarmolia would have been saved had she ascended the mental Tarma before drowning? No, I don't think so. I don't think that Iluvatar's drowning her on a technicality, Like, if you'd been just had a little more foot speed, I'd have had mercy, but you lose the foot race. Like, I don't think so. I mean, it's a tragic image, right? Of near repentance, but it's, I don't think it's like actually, yeah. Awesome. Rigas Telruin, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Any insight in Tolkien's fascination with trees? He just liked trees and thought that they were underestimated as like living creatures. People tended to like not think about them as living creatures, right? He loved to imagine seeing a tree not as a thing. It's not like a rock. It's a fellow creature, right? So that I think was mostly what it was about. Is there something Tolkien doesn't mention that you'd really want to know? Well, there's the Hobbit thing, which I gave my own theories about. This is the top. Okay, good. The Where Did Hobbits Come From is a good one. The Druidine. I want more about the Druidine, right? Like we get more in the essay on the Druidine, but that just raises more questions than answers. Like where did they come from? Again, somebody did some tampering there too, right? Why? What's the deal there? And what came of them, right? And like the people who lived in Dunharrow, which was probably them, but maybe somebody else also, right? What was going on there? I would love to know more backstory there. Okay. Well, that's, didn't answer everything, but I touched on everything that I could, and I did them all orally at least. But it's time to start. It's time to transition. So I'm going to have to say goodbye to the subreddit. Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun. Maybe we can do it again sometime. Great questions. Those are really fun to think about and talk about.